All right. So hey, we're here to talk about this interesting development within veteran readiness and employment. I'm going to talk to you today about the end, the death knell, the final nail in the coffin of what is commonly referred to as counselor roulette. At least that's what they refer to it as within the Department of Veterans Affairs and Veteran Readiness and Employment programs. So, having said that, for years, ever since really the implementation of the Appeals Modernization Act in 2019 as it relates to VR&E, the program has allowed the practice of veterans, disabled veterans, to apply and then basically reapply over and over and over again until they get either a good decision from a counselor that is maybe more veteran friendly, or they just give up, right? So the program has allowed veterans to do this for 6 years up until, or 5 years up until now, okay? And so I'm going to talk to you about what that means. Is it good? Is it bad? What does it mean? And there's a lot of folks out there that are very worried about this. There was a post on Reddit, I believe, that brought this to the attention of a lot of veterans in the veteran community. And it was not the first time that I had heard this, and in fact, I've heard this for a while, but didn't know exactly when it was coming or the kind of the scope of what they were going to do within VR&E. And so now we know. Now we know that the program is definitely going to end the practice, and so veterans are going to have to get smart about how they handle adverse decisions, bad counselors, and other kinds of challenges. And so this is going to be definitely very interesting to see how the veteran community handles this. For quite a while, this was an effective way to work around bad decisions for a lot of veterans. On the other hand, it also resulted in other veterans developing bad evidence because they were not seeking out legal counsel, or at least counsel from a non-lawyer VSO, to at least help bounce the idea off of them or something. And so they were moving forward with their particular matters, and it was resulting in developing bad evidence. And so what do we have today? Today, now, we have a system where the veteran is going to be allowed to apply once for VRE. There may be some, exceptions and nuances and things, like if you withdraw your initial claim, then maybe you will actually be able to reapply. But in most instances, you're going to apply. If you get denied, you'll get a denial or a discontinuance. Usually one of the two. That's how it works. And from that point, you're likely going to need to provide either a supplemental claim if you're inside or outside of the 1 year window, or a higher level review if you're inside the 1 year window, or a formal appeal, which I wouldn't recommend right now because those are taking years to get resolved, if you're within the 1 year window. Okay, so the most veterans, if they have applied and reapplied, that kind of move, there's a strong odds that if you're outside of the 1 year window, you're going to need to provide a supplemental claim. That simply means that you will need to provide new and relevant evidence with your claim to seek help or entitlement. Pretty straightforward. Not a lot of, I don't want to say there's going to be, rocket science as far as that's concerned. So I don't want anybody to, hey, LJ or LGC, your notice there. I'll get to that in a second. So it's not the end of the world, folks. This is not the end of the world. However, it is you're going to run into a situation where you're going to need probably help, right? In many instances. That's already the case, in my opinion, for veterans who are denied benefits when they're trying to seek approval to become doctors and lawyers and things like that, and the agency denies. Strong odds in those cases that you're going to need legal help. And by legal help, I mean something more than usually what a VSO or a CVSO may provide, which is non-legal help, right? Because they are not lawyers. I'm not really sure what they classify themselves as doing, because in many ways it is a practice of law. And in some respects, depending on the state you're talking to, even filling out forms can be construed as the practice of law in some areas. So anyway, having said that, The good news is I can at least confirm that this is happening, right? It doesn't need to be a guessing game. I believe it goes into effect February 10th, meaning if a case is not processed in the present system by February 9th, it will fall into this other system. Usually, if you then reapply, kind of like with a disability comp case, you're going to end up with a decision letter or a notice letter that comes back saying, hey, you filed this on the wrong form. You need to pick a different form. Here's your options, kind of a generic letter. And so hopefully that will work for a lot of people. Hopefully it will be straightforward. If it's not, then reach out to a VSO, CVSO. They provide free help. They may not know a lot about VRE or education benefits generally, but they may know a little bit. Or, if you see this video, obviously, I'm an attorney. I'm VA accredited. I'm also admitted to various courts, including the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. And so you can reach out there at my law practice. The link's in the bottom to request a free consult. We give free consults as a courtesy to veterans in the community who are denied benefits. And so we'll take a look at the adverse decision that you're trying to deal with and see if we can help. Unfortunately, in our VA system, a veteran is essentially proven guilty before they can go retain an attorney. And so that's just the system that we've created for veterans, because apparently we think the veterans don't need legal help right away. And so you end up without legal help when you're developing evidence and making statements under penalty of perjury and stuff like that, which is unfortunate, but that's the system that we live in, and that's kind of what we're dealing with here. So if you are watching this and you're like, okay, what does this mean? I'm freaking out. What am I going to do? Don't freak out. Not a big deal. We can work through this together, okay? I've done a lot of different cases personally, and I'll just tell you, if it's complicated, you probably need legal help. I'm just going to tell you. If you're looking at benefits that are going to be $100,000 to $300,000, which some of you watching this would be like, what? $300,000. So I've helped veterans get approved for things like dental school, medical school at very expensive schools. And that training can be hundreds of thousands of dollars, not to mention the subsistence payment, which in itself can be a lot. There was one case, one of my first wins actually was a case where the subsistence payment alone was significantly higher than the tuition, upwards of $200,000. So it's just for subsistence payment alone, depending on the city. So it's a lot of money. There's a lot of money at stake. If you're the type of person like me and you're, what I would call prudent in the sense that you're like, okay, I'm good at this. I'm going to go get help since I'm not good at that, So like when my car breaks down, I take it to a pro. And I don't just take it to, where you get your oil changed. I take it to somebody that I know is a professional, will do a good job, and they really understand vehicles and they understand customer service, right? And so I'll pay a premium for that because I want it to work. I want it to work right, and I want it to be right the first time, because time is money. And if I have to take my car in for the same thing twice, or three times, then that's not a good scenario for me. So I'm the type of person that's willing to pay for the pro to come in and fix it. Same thing with construction, same thing with my taxes. I will call a tax attorney if I need input, or I definitely have a CPA firm that handles my taxes because I'm a business owner, and these are things that are important to me. You can do your taxes with TurboTax or with H&R Block, and you'll get a professional that works there, hopefully, who kind of knows what they're doing, as far as, simple things. But if you have a more complicated thing, then you need a pro. It's kind of like if you're needing special monthly compensation, if you're having trouble getting disability benefits from traumatic brain injury and you need help supporting that with real evidence that works, that kind of thing, then you want to go to a pro. There's a few attorneys in this country. It's a niche area of attorneys who are VA accredited. I am VA accredited. I'm also admitted to various courts, including the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. And so I've represented veterans in different capacities, in different court systems across the country, and I've seen different things roll out. Very important to have that type of background and knowledge. And so I've seen a lot and seen how the agency does things and doesn't do things. So point is, depending on your risk level and depending on what you're trying to get accomplished, you may want to go for, hey, CivDiv, good to, wait, what? And I was told to reach out to you. Hey, all right, well, tell CivDiv thanks for the lean in there. That's awesome. And so the point is here that the system is changing. The system is more complicated than it used to be. It used to be veterans can go file a claim on toilet paper, and I'm serious. I know everyone's heard the joke. It's not a joke. You could submit it in toilet paper, and the agency sign it, and that's a claim. Nowadays they're super formal. There's probably six different options. But if I were to do the math through probabilities, there's probably, I don't know, 20 options, right? If you think about how it's done when it comes to contesting a case right out of straight out of the gate. You got a formal appeal. Then within formal appeal, you have three different options: whether you get a hearing, whether you just submit evidence, or whether you do nothing and it's a direct appeal. Well, each of those things are nuanced, and so there's like 3 to 4 options, right? Then after your hearing, you can submit evidence if you want to. So there's a lot of things to like think about, right? And then you have the higher level review. Well, do I want an informal conference or not? Maybe you don't. There could be a lot of things. Are you a sympathetic veteran, or are you, abrasive? You may not want to do a informal conference if you're abrasive. But on the other hand, you may not explain it right, and the record may not demonstrate what actually happened, because VR counselors are very frequently either wrong, misstate information, or knowingly misstate information. So at least the ones that are in my opinion poor, the poor quality counselors. So there's that option. Then you have supplemental claims. What's the extent of the evidence that you might submit? Is it outside of 1 year? Is it within 1 year? Are you going to submit a kind of a new issue, an argument that's novel? Well, that might be something to include in a supplemental claim, or new evidence. What kind of evidence? There's a lot of nuances, and as this is becoming more known, these I want everyone. I'm going to dispel a quick myth here. If you're watching this, I'm going to tell you the biggest VSOs no longer handle their own appeals. I'm going to say it again. No longer handle their own appeals. Behind the scenes, many of the VSO community, this includes Disabled American Veterans, the American Legion, VFW, probably I think AMVETS, and maybe there's a couple others, and also the state ones, like here in Minnesota, the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. All of these VSO entities now have hired either private for-profit law firms, or in the case of like MDVA, a private nonprofit law firm to represent veterans. They don't do it anymore. And so they'll do the initial work, sometimes up and through the board, and then if you need to go to appeal, then you'll go up and you'll be represented by these law firms, and sometimes on the way back down by the same law firms. So I just want to tell you that in each of I'm reading some of these comments here. I'll get to you guys in a second. I'm just kind of all right. So in each of these cases, the reality is that appeals are much more complicated. It used to be a thing that you could do on your own. And, while the laws are in many ways more favorable to veterans, certainly over the past 30 years, in my opinion, because of the direct involvement of VA-accredited attorneys and other attorneys that are involved at different stages in the appellate level, holding the agency accountable, exposing when they're wrong. A good example is the Rudisill case that was recently decided at the Supreme Court and now is coming down, and veterans are getting tens of thousands of dollars in additional subsistence that they otherwise wouldn't have received. That's awesome. That is only there because Mr. Rudisill hired a law firm went to some attorneys that are competent, did a great job, got it all the way to the Supreme Court, and won. And it wasn't without the Department of Veterans Affairs and its representation through the Department of Justice that fought back, that had a team of attorneys. Remember, a team of attorneys. These guys have teams of attorneys. An army of attorneys are inside the VA that you're going up against on a regular basis. And if they know that your particular decision is of a type that may tip the balance in favor of millions of veterans, or half a million veterans, they may fight you on it and you don't even know it's happening. All right. So I just want you to know. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. It's not just this good old boy system that it used to be, where Dick down at the RO could go got up to the director's office and get things done. It's not that way anymore. The system is much more regimented. Sometimes this is good and formalized, but also sometimes it's bad because people fall through the cracks and it's harder to get justice in a timely way when it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that hard. So going back to, I'm going to get to these comments in a second. So going back to anyone watching this, if you're watching this and you're denied VRE benefits, if you're denied disability benefits, I do work on those, but I usually focus only on the harder cases that are dealing with special monthly compensation and TBI because that's my niche. Those are the cases I really enjoy. I will work on other cases if it looks like it's something interesting to me, but I focus really on kind of higher level stuff. When it comes to VRE, likewise, I help veterans who want to become doctors and lawyers because I want more veterans to be leaders in society, and no one else is doing what I do, at least not this way. There are a few attorneys that do represent from time to time, and I think some VSOs might as well. My focus, though, is on helping veterans become doctors and lawyers because that's what I'm good at, and I enjoy it. And there's a few things that make me happier than getting somebody approved to be, the next Benjamin Krause down the street. As a lawyer or as a professor, depending on what they're doing. So it's something I really enjoy. I get a buzz out of it. I think it's great. So having said all that, VRE, going back to the point, VRE is no longer allowing counselor roulette. They're shutting it down February 9th. There's presently a huge backlog of veterans trying to get their claims through, and you can't get your claims through in time because there's a backlog. So basically, if you haven't filed your 18th reapplication for VRE, you're probably out to lunch at this point. You're going to have to dig into the appellate side of VA, or at least the decision review request process like the rest of everyone else. And that's okay. There's ways to deal with it, but it's going to be a more sophisticated system, and you're going to need to reach out. So if you're denied benefits, my link is in the footer of this video. Benjamin Krause. I'm a VA-accredited attorney, admitted to various courts, and I've worked on these cases for over a decade, and I've been an advocate for over 15 years. Run the largest Facebook group in existence on veteran readiness and employment benefits. We have over, I think we're getting close to 45,000 members. It's been there for 15 years, and I've been just running it the whole time. So, it seems to be working well. We've had some people pitch in from time to time, and that's been great. But for the most part, it's our Facebook group, man, and we just try to help veterans. It's a pro-veteran group. It's not a pro-agency group. So if you're in the group, we look at what the veteran says, and we believe veterans. We don't, I don't get into that, benefits police, kind of thing. So I'm going to jump in and answer some questions here because some folks have questions, and so I'm going to answer them. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can get this to show up. LJ says, hey, been denied. All right. Or LG, I'm sorry. And then denied, okay, recently. Writing an appeal, but I was told to reach out. Okay, that's cool. CivDiv guys. Like their stuff. Great. Well, reach out. I mean, if you have a question, just, my link to the law firm is in the footer. Just fill out the form on the website, and we'll take a look at the decision and get back to you with feedback. It's a thing that I do not charge for. I don't talk to everybody that reaches out. We have, I have a team, and we look at these things. But if it's a case where it's a viable thing, it'll be myself or one of my colleagues that takes the call. And you'll be able to get feedback from people that see tons of decisions. There's a lot of value in that, just so you know. Like if you get to talk to somebody that's seen a bunch of opinions and decisions, you can get a whole lot out of that. So anyway, so LG, just, if you have a specific question, I can answer it now if you pop it on the screen, or go to the website and we'll take a look after you submit the information. So Yoda, will they pay for law school? Yes, they paid for my law school. That's how I know. They did originally lie to me, though, and said that they wouldn't pay for my law school. I had to request my records and found that out the hard way years later. It cost me 3 years at the end of my career, right? Because it delayed my law school experience. So I lost 3 years of earnings. And at the end of your career as an attorney, you should be making, multiples of hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're really good at the end of your career. And so that cost me a lot, probably cost my family and I $1 million or something like that, because they lied to me, right? And there's no real recourse in that context because it's hard to sue the VA outside of benefits. So point is, yes, they will pay for law school, but you don't say, I want to be, you don't say it like what you're writing here, because it doesn't fit with how the claim needs to work. What you need to explain is you need to pick a vocational goal and that fits your interests, right? And so here what you're describing is, I want to be an environmental lawyer. And so you would go to Lewis and Clark College, for example, out of Portland. They have an excellent environmental law program, beautiful campus. I loved it there. I attended there for a little while in my law school experience, and it was beautiful. I loved it. So I would say to go there, or a comparable area that has an excellent administrative law um, uh, system. So let's see. I have 100% GI Bill left. Awesome. Except for one semester. Great. Worst case scenario, yes, you can use the GI Bill. Best case scenario, you hold that back. VRE pays for your training. Then you go use your GI Bill later for like an LLM or some other kind of advanced training in law, and or MBA or whatever, basket weaving if you want to, whatever. It's your benefit to use however you want at that point at an appropriate school. So I would, if I had it again, I would either do oil painting or cabinetry, right? Two things I really enjoy. I would go back and get an MFA or something and that type of stuff, wood carving or whatever. That'd be fun for me, but that's just how my brain works. Let's see here. Jordan, I am Army National Guard, and in the last process of med board, okay, a federal technician, so we'll lose my full time job. 100% no. Great. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear this is your situation. Make sure that so the good news is you can hire an attorney when you're getting med boarded. It's only when you're dealing with the VA and the VA might owe you money. That's when you run into problems. But if you're needing legal counsel against the DOD, you can go get an attorney. As I understand it, there's no preclusion there. So, I wouldn't go through the med board process without talking to somebody that really knows what they're doing. Just because I've seen so many cases that are screwed up, and then the veteran doesn't appeal right, and then they lose the option. Then it's gone, and you have to go through the Board of Military Records correction, or BCMR, and things like that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I did the online application before. I have an end date yet, and I'm worried. Oh, well, hopefully you won't get denied. If you're 100% P&T and you're getting out, no college degree. I mean, I can't imagine you'd be denied unless they found you to be not feasible, and that's a whole other problem. But yeah, that's how I would do it. And then I took your advice. Right? Okay. Word doc on, here you go. In a group meeting, advisor said we didn't even have to do it. Yeah, so the rules policy just changed from the 1902W, and now the counselors are doing the 1902W. That there's a good and bad of that. I'm going to do a video on that soon because it's really important to understand like what they did. On the one hand, they finally included instructions on the form, which I've been complaining about forever because veterans aren't vocational counselors. How are we supposed to know how to fill out the form? But they actually did the instructions for the counselors, right? That would figure, right? So they don't really want you to fill it out because we are putting in stuff that maybe they don't want included that might improve your case in some instances. That's my opinion. Hopefully, most of the counselors are honest. I know that some are not, and I know that for a fact. So, so it is what it is. But point is, I hope that they accepted what you wrote down because you're kind of trusting what they did, and hopefully they wrote it out correctly. So I would encourage you still to submit your evidence, make sure it's in your file, and at least then you did tell them what you told them, and they can't go back on it. Justin says, I have had 5 yeah, you're not alone. There's lots of people with a lot of counselors. Frequently, they don't respond to veterans that often. LG, yes, denied. I understand completely. Feel free to reach out. We'll take a look at your decision notice letter and happy to give you feedback. I am so stoked to last night and really appreciate it. Oh man. Hey Leslie, thanks. I appreciate the kudos. I just joined. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this. I just joined the American Legion in the area I live over here in Forest Lake, Minnesota. Really kind of excited about it. This is something I didn't really get into until I get into my 40s. And now I kind of enjoy it. It's not bad, but I was over at the state capitol today talking to them about some policy changes and statute changes that are happening today to our respective state senator. And there was like a pro-life rally there, which I was very excited to see. I've never seen one before. And, it was cool. I'm glad to be able to go to the Capitol and get involved. So anyway, I appreciate your kudos there, Leslie. It's great. I appreciate it. Mark got approved easy enough, but the counselor was not happy that I read the statute, and she couldn't pull the word game on me in regards to entry level. Wow, man, there you go, buddy. Way to go, Mark. Yeah, that's always, they do that. Let's see here. Okay, all right. So L King writes, I emailed us. Gosh, I don't know. 2017 was a while ago, so I wouldn't remember this. But VRE never replied. Okay, I send inquiries every year. Okay, so that would be a case where I would probably contact my elected official, state congressman, or like the U.S. congressman, and have them get involved, or senator, and just say, "Hey, look, I filed this claim. It's been pending for, 7 years or whatever, 8 years. So hopefully they can get it sorted out. If there's no decision notice letter issued, then that means it's still pending. Basically. So I would go there in person and try to figure it out. Oh, here's another one. Let L King reach out. Still no idea regarding. Okay, well, if they didn't issue a decision notice letter, there's really nothing to appeal. It's pending, assuming that you can prove that the application is like in the record. So that's super important, right? So definitely do that. If they did issue an adverse decision, then just submit. At this point, that would be a supplemental claim. So new and relevant evidence is always important, depending on whatever they wrote down. Kyle writes, I'm currently in school. Graphic arts, awesome. My issue, VRE has been talking about getting me a computer last kind of. Okay, so computers are tough. I've had clients get the Mac. If you're doing graphic arts, I don't know. I would go that route unless you have a reason to use the PC. This would be a situation where I would put it in writing a few times. If you don't get a response, contact your U.S. congressperson or senator and have them say, "Hey, look, what's the deal?" And they'll respond pretty quick to get back to you. Okay, so that's how that works. LG, I have a BA and been working in law firm for 15 years. They are denying BCB. Okay, because after we'd have to look at they are denying because after I have. So I don't know the typo. It looks like there's a typo. So LG, just happy to look at it. So that happens a lot with VRE. You have training and then VRE denies you, but that doesn't mean they're correct just because they denied you, right? And there may be other information that they didn't develop and address. I see that all the time, and that might be relevant and help you win. So keep it up. And then Jamie Walker, keep up the fight. Thank you. Ryan Sterling. Okay. Hello. Is it better to use my GI Bill? No. I mean, you can do it, but I think it's always better to use VRE first. That is not always how it worked. Back in the day, you would maybe use your GI Bill first and then VRE. Now, VRE does not count against your GI Bill. So you could actually hold it back for other things. So in my opinion, it's better usually to use the VRE first and then GI Bill second, but that really depends on what's going on in your particular situation. Each case is different. William, do you take cases which veterans have MBAs with a job that is not suitable? So, I mean, I wouldn't commit to it until I read exactly what was going on. Let's put it that way. there are ways to get people approved. So I've been able to get people approved who have um, doctorates in certain like career fields that are not suitable anymore, and other people approved for doctorates despite having a master's degree. But I wouldn't say that that's the norm. VA is gonna fight pretty hard. So it depends on what the evidence is, but you really have to demonstrate that the evidence would need to show that the MBA and the jobs you can get with it are not appropriate due to your service connected disabilities. Um, uh, Now, you could get into the weeds on an interest argument. The interest argument are always going to be harder to win because they consider it subjective. I think there's ways to address that though, but it just depends on the evidence and what you're able to do. So happy to take a look if you have a recent denial. This is something I do as a favor to my fellow veterans, and our team will take a look at it, and I'll just give you feedback on what to do. I can't promise that you'll be able to talk to me because of my schedule, but uh, if it's a case where it's actually like you're actually considering hiring an attorney, then you obviously usually need to talk to me about it because I need to understand what's going on. I don't like to take cases unless I know, get to kind of a sense of the veteran. We're pretty picky about that type of thing. I feel lucky for reward of your That's awesome. Good job, Jimmy. Magnificent Puerto Rican. My biggest problem is not freaking out on my VRC and letting you do all the work. I don't remember who this is, but I think it's awesome. I recognize this name, but I can't think of it. Anyway, I appreciate it. That's funny. Jimmy. Okay, so first of all, awesome. I mean, this is really good, really good. I would just caution you about National University only because I have heard stories that some veterans have had a hard time finding work after completing that training at that school. And there may be some better schools in your area that have a deeper bench when it comes to trying to find work. So like support and stuff like that. So I hope that helps. Let's see here. Leslie, I heard from another veteran posting tips that they have to give you a decision at the end of the first meeting. Is that accurate? Not exactly. So I've seen sometimes they don't. The hope is that they can find you entitled, but they might not. And so there are instances where some counselors screw it up and they don't do it, even though they should. Others need more time to develop and assess feasibility, and there's other variables. So it's not always true. It's true often, it's just not true all the time. So I hope that helps. If you get denied, though, if you're going to get denied, usually you'll get that letter right away because they want it off their books and they get credit when they discharge veterans like that. So it's better for their performance reviews and stuff if they deny you fast. So that could be what they're talking about. If I shouldn't explain to them what I want to do, how would I phrase my interests? Okay, so, well, I mean, environmental law is you would just basically say, I want to be an environmental lawyer, or I want to be an administrative lawyer, right? Which is basically environmental law, although you can be in science. There's a few different things. So I would just say I want to be an environmental lawyer and then pick a different type of lawyer that's similar. So administrative lawyer, environmental lawyer, public policy lawyer, lots of different ways to skin the cat. So that's how I would address that. Let's see here. Like they often. Oh, and before I forget, disclaimer if you're still watching this. Nothing on this is considered legal advice. You are not my clients. This is educational only, and I'm only giving you feedback from information here. You're not my client, and I have not seen your file. So this is, don't take anything I'm saying here as legal advice. This is me just speaking off the cuff based on my own experience and what I've seen. Your own case is novel talk to a lawyer about your specific issues who can look at your file, or a VSO, even if you're in the claim process and you're just doing an initial. See if they help you. Have somebody help you individually if you can. And then, if you get denied, obviously you can reach out, but we don't do the initial claims, generally speaking. And there's some nuances there where I might do it as a favor for somebody, but I don't generally do it. If you could explain better, Leslie. Okay. Like they often do, but if you tell them, yeah, I don't know the background here. Sorry. Like they often do, but if you tell them they have to, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you don't get a decision back for a while, like veterans, a good example is veteran comes to me, they know they've been denied, they received a denial email, let's say, like the counselor wrote, "Hey, you're denied," and they hope you go away, and they want to come hire me. I usually make them go back, depending on the circumstance. If they want to hire me, I make them go get the decision. So sometimes we've had situations where the agency just didn't mail it or whatever, and then they get it many months later. So there's a lot of different examples. So I'm going to go fast here because I do have to go. But I have 1 year left. Transportation logistics manager. Was wondering if I use my degree to finish the degree. Okay, so I would apply for VRE immediately in a situation like this, because why not? If you're a disabled vet, you have much higher odds of being approved for VRE before you complete any degree, and then try to see if they'll help you to become a lawyer. It'd be awesome to be a lawyer with a logistics background. I think that'd be really great. Maybe get into contracting or something for the government. But I would go that route. And if you're denied, then you can try to use GI Bill later, but don't burn up your GI Bill if you don't need to. And also, like the second you want to apply for VRE, you really have to figure out, like, if you don't apply right now, I would say why not, and make sure why not. Because it's a great program if you get approved. If you don't get approved, then you got to fight. And that part sucks. But otherwise, it's a good program. Let's see here. Jimmy, all right, using GI first. Veteran will receive. Okay, so don't use the GI Bill first anymore. You used to do this. I mean, and then maybe there's some other reasons why you would, but I generally tell veterans and my clients, save your GI Bill back, opt to get the higher BAH, which is the same. I mean, it's the same basically as the GI Bill BAH, the subsistence at the post 9/11 rate. And so then you don't chew up your GI Bill and you save it. So I see no reason at the moment in the present to not use your VRE first, unless you're in a degree training program that VRE can't support, and then it might make sense. So that's my 2 cents there. Let's see here. Yaking Vet. Cybersecurity is not entry level. Please do yourself a favor and take up networking as a supplement. Not a bad idea. Yeah. Does VRE pay for a certificate? Yes. So yes, they can. I've had a case right now where we're waiting for retro to get figured out, but the veteran did take a post back in addition to then getting into med school. We had to fight for her to get into med school, and then getting the post back approved. It can be done. Is I guess the point. Getting it approved in advance, there's always going to be maybe a little pushback, but we've been able to do it after the fact and get it done in some instances. Also, going to an Ivy League school, it depends on the situation, but getting into med school is super hard. If you happen to get into an Ivy League, I mean, I would go whether or not VA approves, frankly, because it just your life earnings and other benefits because of that experience is far superior than worrying about whatever VRE may or may not do. That's my 2 cents there. Everybody's different on their life walk, but I would go to an Ivy for networking purposes over a normal state school. Just depending on what's going on. Jimmy, all right. Let's see. Most veterans are unaware. You can apply for VRE within 12 months of being awarded. Right. Thanks. Yeah, dude. So I have a case where we got the veteran approved through this kind of process, and we're able to get a lot of the doctoral training, and it was like a hybrid program covered. So because of that application, applying within a certain window after getting the disability comp claim. So that's always good stuff. I've an appointment. How do I strengthen my? All right, so I have a few videos on this. I know there's some other content creators that have videos on this too. Let's see, using for nursing with PTSD. I mean, maybe, but um, they're likely going to push back and haven't worked since I separated 2 years ago. So they're probably going to push back, and I would frankly push back too, right? Because if you're smart and you have a rating like that, why would you want to be a nurse? Why not be a nurse practitioner where you can have greater control over your hours, less lifting, less other lots of things, more control over your schedule. If your PTSD gets aggravated, you can moderate your schedule a little bit. A lot more control. Or physician assistant, Or I have a case where the veteran became an audiologist. There's lots of different options. I wouldn't settle with nursing, not anymore. It's just such a high burnout. And if you're a disabled vet anyway, in my opinion, I would go for something higher. I just wouldn't take no for an answer. So yeah, I wouldn't focus on nursing. I would say nurse practitioner or physician assistant at a minimum, if that's your goal. You could be like an MP or PA in like psychiatric care and stuff. That's pretty interesting. So that's the direction I would go. We've helped a few people become psychiatrists or anyway, I won't get into it, but it's hard to go that route. But one of my first cases was somebody being a psychiatrist. Another was a nurse practitioner in psychiatry, however that went, and and we've been involved with other veterans that are looking in that direction. So it's always good stuff. I like psychiatry. I think it's super interesting. So if you happen to go the distance, I encourage you to do it. Anyway, all right. God bless, guys. I gotta head out and do some stuff. So I'm glad we got to do this Facebook Live. If you have a question, I'll check the comments for a little bit, maybe over the next couple days. So comment below, or if it's real specific and you actually need legal advice. I am a licensed attorney. I am also VA accredited and also admitted to various federal courts. So feel free to reach out, and that's what we do. And we're certainly more responsive than most VSOs, and are required to be, frankly. So we do our best to reach out and at least read things and give you feedback where able. We're not able to help everybody, but we at least try to do our best to direct folks to appropriate help if we're not able to do that. So anyway, God bless. Take care, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.